Welcome to Tidbit Talkin. This is a series that consists of spewing out assorted thoughts which arose from somebody who thinks too much, taking in, and generally loving various entertainment media by the boatload. These tidbits may be little theories, observations, or simply jokes. Please bear in mind that all these ideas come from the perspective of somebody who's experienced every main story bit connected with whatever is currently being gone over. So spoilers will be here. However, other works set in a shared continuity will typically solely be referenced in a way that only makes sense to anybody who's also fully experienced those ones up until their same time occurring points. Sort of a coded nod kind of deal. Now, with all of that out of the way, here we go.
Sonic Boom!
The adventure begins. Guile most likely was supposed to have sat on that SF-labeled chair while in some kind of waiting room or whatever. Escher must have initiated some last-minute sudden plan B hoopla by either sending in an undercover agent or paying a random homeless person to cheap-shot his main man in the ring after everything Sonic Booming derriere rest concerned went south.
Sonic Boom!
The strongest woman in the world. Chun-Li regularly spouting her Origin Game Found Victory quote must be a kinda clever ploy to attract especially stupid shadowy recruiters' attention and gain at least one more chance at Bison-aimed Father Vengeance junk. Miss Best on the Planet may have included building her own furniture via constant kick carving as a normal training program.
Sonic Boom!
Getting to Guile. Honda's Hollywood hacking, ending with combustion-consisting computer cataclysms, could very well be caused by Bison utilizing his magnetic powers in retaliation.
Sonic Boom!
No way out. The feather-hat-adorned child must have played some sort of propaganda-stuffed version of Final Fantasy, where an astonishingly intelligent red mage worships a certain country/crime company's commander as all deity level reaching and whatnot. Said fancy headgear would of course have been a pre-order bonus. Relatively early on in the episode, Guile states to this hungry kid he's helping out that there's not exactly a drive-thru around, or some such. At the end, Chun-Li and Blanca are hanging around a certain escape helicopter sipping sizable sodas. Seems like the good colonel really does deem fast food to be emergency situation-worthy grub.
Sonic Boom!
Demon Island. Bison was able to find this off-brand invisible jet pretty easily because his magnetic powers sensed something above, and not seeing any deals at all after looking up really piqued the dude's curiosity.
Sonic Boom!
Desert Thunder. Guile must have realized rolling rendered from his buddy Blanca would help everybody escape because that distressed kid from a few episodes back was talking about Sonic the Hedgehog during some off-screen shenanigans.
Sonic Boom!
Dark Heart. Ryu shouts his Hadouken call rather quietly, perhaps recently getting buried in an avalanche, albeit an artificially activated one, made him wary of loud noise making up on snowy mountains. Guile doesn't say Sonic stuff softer though, so either he doesn't learn lessons, or his special attacks simply require vocal cord originating loudness.
Sonic Boom!
The medium is the message. An MO disc may be required to operate that monster-holding rig labeled Capcom.
Sonic Boom!
Eye of the Beholder. That youth serum not working on a somewhat older Blanca most likely has something to do with his cells becoming completely unrecognizable as human once they've shifted too much from their right-after-experiment state. In other words, instead of his body starting to make wrinkle-inducing regeneration errors, it'd cause only mutagen remembering ones, or whatever.
Sonic Boom!
The hand that feeds you. Tweezer's loving crime lord over here is so distressed about eating food other humans have touched because he's worried his somewhat more creative criminal employees might be making fruit-shaped LSD or something.
Sonic Boom!
Keeping the peace. Chun-Li giving her pool winnings back must have been part of a plan, where she'd state stuff about mind-changing crap if a getting-caught situation occurred upon tailing those thugs. That is, she'd make exclamations about just collecting some cash if the bosses figured out her whole super spy situation. If those two dudes then pointed out the world's strongest woman said the moolah meant nothing earlier, she'd merely blame their claims on drunkenness.
Sonic Boom!
Channel Vision. Guile calls Bison's intention to blow up that totally packed train a good plan. This is probably because, in his most rage-filled moments, the courageous covert colonel considered assassinating said dictator in such a way.
Sonic Boom!
Strange bedfellows. Akuma goes after two big-deal members of opposing organizations for his most recent Life Force heist because dealing with them first would likely result in search parties or whatever coming relatively quickly afterwards, giving him the chance at even more vitality siphoning action.
Sonic Boom!
The hammer strikes. Dalcine sending that warning vision to Blanca didn't work out so well because the latter already had recurring nightmares about his formerly experiment-dedicated, stretchy acquaintance. On that note, Sir Spiritually Slinky's embrace of metaphysics that made disarming a certain nuclear device last minute possible must have been something along the lines of teleporting all angsty atoms away, or what have you.
Sonic Boom!
Cammy and the Bachelor. Cammy's brainwashing apparently involves installing an irresistible urge within her to be in love with someone. Seems like tying that mind-messing muck with instinct-level junk was done so its strength wouldn't wane from support lacking.
Sonic boom.
A new kind of evil. This originally dictator-deployed deranged dude doesn't do doctor dubbing aimed at himself, instead preferring the term master because he was struck of his medical license and thus decided an apparently superior title would be best for mocking those who considered certain actions unethical.
Sonic boom.
The world's greatest warrior. Ken's rich father may have commissioned those paintings of the iconic duo Goken as a thank you for helping his son get at least a little bit more discipline.
Sonic boom.
So, you want to be in pictures. The senior Mr. Masters most likely knows about Ken's Street Fighter work and wants him to continue with it while helping handle traditional business world stuff because doing so is good practice that resembles his own multi-company overseeing responsibilities. That is, knowing that his heir can, hypothetically at least, successfully run all the things makes reaching retirement age feel just that much sweeter. Anyway, Red traditional fighting game moveset guy is acting like a regular jerk so much after his supposed growth last episode because he's too scared of becoming an Akuma-like jerk if he gets too fighting focused. Guess he thinks you can't multitask when it comes to being an awful human being.
Sonic boom.
Face of Fury. Vega has made equipment maintaining a core component in his ego stroking because he figures if stuff that can always be replaced with flawless new parts is actually what makes him up, self-perfection achieving will forever be possible.
Sonic boom.
Cammy must die. The cyborg wolf still having organic heads but not torsos must involve some horrible machinations along the lines of replace every hunger-satiating part while the brain still believes starvation is going on so desperate rage never ceases.
Sonic boom.
The Rose and the Flame. Rose doesn't know who Bison is because she keeps away from TV news and other more modern media concerned with information because she thinks being exposed to it would result in her misinterpreting a vision.
Sonic boom.
The Warrior King. This favorable public image having fellow adorned in pink and purple as opposed to blue and silver is clearly Bison, not Bison. He's the product of a legally safe official business enabling lie that revolves around a perfectly good identical twin brother existing.
Sonic boom.
The Beast Within. On top of teaching himself multiple Earth languages in a relatively short time span, Alien Kid's broken English could very well be the result of consuming LSD resembling effect generating plants for sustenance in this crazy jungle.
Sonic boom.
Second to none. Seems Sagat thought he could still beat a full power Ryu now, but didn't want to risk the dude having enough strength for torso tearing Shoryuken action regardless.
Sonic boom.
Final fight. Beating at least one Mad Gear member in a street fight merely being the preliminary for that entry-allowing Sodom battle probably has something to do with making sure that first victory wasn't only caused by said swatted Sword of Sinister soldiers currently partaking in the use of recreational mind-altering substances. Ryu and Ken aren't calling out those Hadokens this time around because they don't want to blow Street Fighter's cover, even after their own already has been. Captain Core Capcom character considering Careless Cody as disciplined but not his best friend might have something to do with the former actually being aware that such behavior is problematic.
Sonic boom.
Cammy, tell me true. Bison becoming blatantly beyond bonkers probably involves that mystical Kali statue he bonded with still having power after getting blown to bits and or dust. In other words, he was basically taking advice from at least several dozen barely capable of tiny magic brains instead of a whole, regularly functioning one. Sagat's contingency plan for evading his own firing squad most likely involved only recruiting goons who couldn't start shooting before superhuman reflex having folks on the same level as him reached a certain hidden escape button. Endings are a pain, but all of you are fantastic. See ya.